products, or services?
Well, you're in the right place.
United States Real Estate Investor is a platform you need to place your brand directly in front of your target audience. With our focused, growing audience of real estate investing beginners, enthusiasts, and seasoned professionals, you can continually reach our captivated viewers and listeners with ease. To learn more or to get started today, just visit UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. That's UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. Get ready to increase your brand awareness and your bottom line. Attract clients with content.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to This Month in Real Estate Investing. In this episode, we'll be covering a variety of news items, including shortage of houses is hitting some people and areas harder than others. Office to industrial conversion trend is here. And first quarter home flipping improves, lowest level since 2000. All this and more on this episode of This Month in Real Estate Investing. Let's start the show. All right. I'm your host, James Brown, and I help fellow investors reach their passive income goals through our hybrid investing model, as well as other traditional types of investing. Reach out if you want to learn more. If you're watching live, feel free to comment and ask questions. Our guests today are Brian Briscoe, Jesse Mills, and Andrew Lucas. Why don't each of you introduce yourselves in that order? Just give you a little bit of your background and what types of investing you focus on.
Hey, thanks a lot, James. I appreciate it. And shout out to Antonio as well. But Brian Briscoe is my name, born and raised in the Salt Lake City area. After September 11th, decided to do, a good 20 years in the Marine Corps. So retired from that about 2 years ago. Started picking up single family along the way, switched to multifamily in late 2018. Current company is Streamline Capital Group based out of, Salt Lake City, my hometown. And over the last 5 years, I've been a general partner on about 1,150 units and looking to pick up a whole lot more.
Awesome. That's impressive.
Thanks.
Sweet. Brian, thank you for your service, man. Appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, that's why you're on time. Is that what's been building your head?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Awesome, man. Jesse Mills here from Minnesota. I am a recovering mortgage broker, licensed agent, but really more of a creative deal maker. Spent the last 20 years in the mortgage business, as well as an investor doing creative financing, all things lease option, contract for deed, land contract, sub 2, wholesale flips, short-term rentals especially, and have a really cool system where we help investors basically combine flipping and being a landlord and the benefits of both without a lot of the headaches and hassles. And we show people how to do a lot more deals, especially agents and loan officers around the country as well.
Thanks, Jesse. And by the way, Jesse is my mentor and business partner. He's a badass. Love him. And I'm happy to have him on the show.
And glad that we found each other, man. James Brown is kicking ass and taking names. I love it, man.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Hey, that's tough to follow behind, but I'm Andrew Lucas in South Carolina, based in Columbia, and been investing for about 15 years, started single family and just continue to get what we can get. My wife and I went full-time about 5 years ago, and now we are also teaching others how to find deals right in their backyard, getting started, finding the first 2 or 3 houses on the cheap. So that's what we're doing here, and happy to be here. Glad to share the stage.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a good group. So thanks for being here, guys. Let's dive into the news. I'll read off the headlines, and then we'll just chat about what we think about it, how it's affecting us as investors, and having different backgrounds is great too. You know, Ryan being in multifamily heavily may have some different ideas about things from us that are in single family mainly. So from CNBC, the shortage of houses is hitting some people and areas harder than others. It was saying the supply of homes for sale in the U.S. is about half of what it was in 2019. So, what do you guys think?
Freaking massive.
Well, I'd say, you know, from the multifamily perspective, you know, anytime there's a housing shortage, it's going to push, you know, rents up, and it's going to push prices up. But the added benefit, if you're a multifamily guy, is if single family homes are less available, or in the case it is now more expensive because of the interest rates relative to 1 or 2 years ago, more people are going to rent. And when you look at the rental availability, you know, a lot of people end up choosing apartments. So, you know, it is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there's not a lot of, you know, volume in the single family space. There's not a lot of availability. You know, it's definitely, you know, very heavily weighted towards a seller market, just because there's not a lot of inventory. So end of the day, yeah, that does push prices up. It's a supply and demand issue. It does push prices up. It does push, you know, rental income up, because more people are moving towards the rentals.
I think. Oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, here locally, you know, in the Sun Belt, people are moving here. We get a lot of people moving in into our area, and it is less than half, you know, from 2019, and we can't keep up with the building. It's really what we're seeing now is thousands of new construction permits out there, but they can't get them built fast enough. So it's a seller's market. But then on the other hand, with the interest rates going up and just kind of the uncertainty in our economy, it keeps buyers on the sidelines. So the demand is actually kind of meeting the supply a little bit. So the prices here, at least, and what we're seeing, some people are reducing. Ours have kind of flattened out. But if you look back from 2019, it's been a huge growth in the value of property. So, you know, it's tough to see what's coming next. But if the interest rates were to just drop a little bit, or the news cycle was a little bit more bearish or bullish on the economy, I think prices of homes could skyrocket, because the demand is there. It's being suppressed. So I'm waiting to see what happens next. Really, I'm just here waiting.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, the biggest thing, right, is everyone has to readjust. So they're used to looking at, here's what I can buy with $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month for monthly payments, right? Whatever their budget was, and that got them a lot more house a year ago and 2 years ago than it does now. And so that $500,000 home, now they're looking at $350,000, right? And so you got those people saying, okay, well, do I need to move or do I want to move? And the people that need to move, well, right, they don't really have the luxury of choice. But the people that, you know, kind of just wanted to move because, you know, it was more of a desire, they're not going anywhere, which is the tough thing. So I think that's where it's really important too, that we look at all the different ways to help people get into home ownership. That's why I love the creative financing side, and ways that people say, hey, even if you can't go to the bank and get financing, there's still a way, you know, especially through a program like James and I's, where we can get you into a house regardless of the bank and let you go and move on, right, and not feel stuck. And it's kind of like that. You know, there's a kink in the hose, right? And so we need people moving, and as more people realize they can move forward, or go into apartments, for example, they maybe have to get rid of their home, right? There's maybe a lot of people downsizing too. And so, yeah, just any options that are out there that we have that we can show people there's other ways to do things, I think is so helpful right now, especially.
Yeah. It was saying in the article, there's fewer homes available for people who make $100,000 a year, a lot less than a few years ago. In a balanced market, of supply and demand. 64% of homes should be affordable to buyers who make 100,000 a year, given that size of the population. So we're off with that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
But that gets a little bit into the economics of wages not really keep it up, with the prices of the houses.
Yep.
So,
Well, I don't know if it's wages necessarily. I mean, we did see, the federal funds rate go up by 5.25 points in the last year and a half. I think it's really hard for wages to keep up with that, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah.
interest rates, I bought the home I'm currently in at a 2.75 in January of 2002. That was what, 17 months ago. So yeah, when you're looking at the numbers, right now, interest rates are just below 7. And I mean, this home right here would probably cost, $1,000 more per month at current interest rates. So I don't think it has to do with wage growth as much. I mean, obviously wage growth has not kept pace, but I think the elephant in the room here is interest rates.
Mhm.
yeah. Hey, let's jump to the next article. Linda Bean sued for $228,000 by Bulos Company over real estate dispute. I don't know if you guys read that, but
I did.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was a little convoluted. It sounded like she was buying a property from herself for.
Well, I think it raises a big question. I think the reason you wanted to talk about it is because, she bought it from herself, right? I guess that's what I understand. One of her entities bought it.
Yeah.
But the broker assumes they should still be paid.
Right.
And there's probably a lot of information we're not being told, how much of that entity does she own? Is she a 1% partner, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you should probably pay her commission. Did you just swap it for estate purposes? Well,
Mhm.
if you moved it off the market, technically that broker probably should be paid something, right? Just to do good business. But I think it's opening a big can of worms for people to get really particular with their contracts, which I don't think in real estate has been done. And Jesse, you might could talk to that. A lot of agents out there, they use the contract, but how many of them actually read through it and hold their clients accountable to it?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, Andrew. 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
and a lot of people just kind of do what their mentor told them or someone that trained them in, right? And I mean, you should know everything that you're signing and absolutely everything that you're telling your clients to sign. And if you don't know the reason why you're signing something, you don't just go, well, let's sign and move on. I mean, that's poor business, ways to work. So, and I think a lot of folks too forget this is actually something we talked with our broker on just a couple of weeks ago. We move a lot of properties ourselves through our brokerage. I am not a broker. I'm with EXP. I don't want to be a broker. I have enough on my plate. I don't want to babysit other agents and have more of that on me. That's my personal choice on it. But a lot of people kind of forget there's this disconnect. Like, it's not the agent doing things, it's the broker, right? The broker is the name on everything, and it has to run through the broker. And brokers aren't doing this for free. And so even if it's your own transactions, they still need to get compensated something. And obviously this was something where, that got forgotten about, or, who knows, right? But they're trying to get around something or forgot about something, right?
Well, I mean, we get one side of the story is what I'm looking
Totally.
at, and I'm the one person that is definitely not a broker in the room, but when you look at it, it depends on the entities. A lot of people will do like drop and swap entities instead of regular sales, or when they recapitalize, they're going to move it from one. I mean, you could sell it to yourself to recapitalize, like, hey, we're getting rid of some of our equity partners or whatever, or refinancing, or for some reason you can just do that entity swap and sell it from one entity to another. But I mean, if she's in control of one entity and she's selling it to an entity that she's also in control of, I would like to see more facts here, to be honest, before we. I mean, end of the day, let's see what that transaction really was, and how much the broker was actually involved in it.
Yeah. Some speculation
Well,
there.
and businesses can buy and sell without having to run through a broker. Everyone thinks it has to go through a broker. It doesn't. Advised to use a broker or advised to use an attorney if that's not what you do day in, day out, right? But if it goes through a broker, then yeah, they're responsible for everything that goes with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's jump into the next article from Business Insider. Billionaire investor Jeff Green made $800 million betting against the last housing bubble. He just rang the alarm on U.S. real estate again. So,
Well, there's been a lot of that lately.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of people are predicting things, you know, and I don't know who Jeff Green is. I did, you know, looked at the article. Okay, yeah, he made a lot of money on the last, you know, housing bust. Does that necessarily mean that he's right now? I don't think so. You know, I heard somebody from the stage, somebody that I know well and respect at a recent conference say, you know, hey, if I could go back to the peak of the market in 2007, I would still buy everything I could get my hands on. You know, when you look over time, there are going to be ups and downs in the markets, but the winners are the ones who are able to withstand that. You know, so right now I'm still buying, and you know, if Jeff Green wants to predict a downturn, that's not going to change how I'm doing things. We're looking for long-term fixed rate debt. And right now, fortunately, in the multifamily space, most commercial loans are assumable. So, you know, in the last couple of properties we've purchased, we've come in with the assumable debt, you know, numbers that start with a 3, you know, and usually you were coming in with products that have, you know, 6 to 10 years left on the loan. So if the market crashes, okay, great. But, you know, 6, 8, 10 years from now, I'm still going to be okay. And the market is, if history is any indication of what the future is going to be, the market's going to rebound. It's going to keep going up, and I'll be good.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was wondering how you guys are being affected because I knew there was a lot of like those shorter term debts that were coming due. So
yeah, I was very fortunate. We had a couple of, you know, lending partners, you know, small banks and credit unions. And one actually in South Carolina that we used several times. We actually have a lot of properties in South Carolina. So anyway, instead of getting the variable rate debt, we were able to get fixed rate products, you know, very similar to the bridge structure that, you know, a lot of people are talking about right now, and all the defaults are on the bridge loans that traditionally come with variable rate debt. And, you know, we were able to lock in loans in, you know, the high 3s, low 4s on fixed terms, you know, over 5 years when we purchased those properties. So, yeah, we haven't been stung by it. Fortunately, I know a lot of people that have, and you know, we're still able to, you know, make our mortgage payments. And, you know, a lot of the properties right now we're selling a couple, and we're still making pretty good money.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I like your sentiment on that, Brian, a lot. Right. And I agree with you. I think real estate is not a quick game. I mean, it can be sometimes with certain strategies, right? But then it's not really real estate. Then it's not really investing, right? If you're flipping paper, flipping properties, you know, it's not truly investing. So if you're in it for the long haul, and you're not selling because you don't need to, right? You have low equity, you have low payments, you have strong cash flow, you have strong reserves, right? This is why when you're, you know, getting financing, they ask what your reserves are, how many months you can cover. That's why they want a bunch of money down, right? Then it's up and down. It's like stocks, right? I don't care if the share price is $1,000 a share down to 200 a share. If I'm not selling it, I don't care, right? And in the future, it should hopefully go back up, or at least higher than it should be. And nonetheless, it's not a concern to me, and really about that strong cash flow. So I think, you know, I was doing mortgages back during the crash. That was super fun, right? But everyone, you know, that had, I got 5 properties, 10 properties, 20, 30 properties, right? They were all buying a speculation. They're all buying an appreciation. They weren't cash flowing, or if they were making anything, it was barely paying anything. And so, and yeah, Brian, to your point, those people, you know, had a lot, and now they got rid of them, or were forced to get rid of them, and now you're starting all over again. So I think the fundamentals are being in a good spot to begin with. And there are deals out there. And when this kind of stuff happens, there'll be more deals for the people that know what to look for and how to find them and how to get them.
Yeah, exactly. I want to add to that first, Brian. I need to know who those lenders are here in South Carolina, so I go meet them. But but I always and I'll just kind of tease this a little bit and maybe cause some controversy. But I always want to know, who's saying these things. What is their angle or whatever? And the guy made his money from the downturn, so like the downside, right?
Mhm.
He's going to predict another downside. I'm willing to bet that he has some bets, some money invested somehow to profit on a downturn. So, it's a little bit of who's talking to us right here. It's not hard to throw out a prediction of real estate difficulties coming soon, right? The market or the interest rates are super high. Clearly, things have slowed down. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go anywhere near to 2008 crash. But where would he benefit on that? I don't know. But one of the good things, and I think you just said it, Jesse, is like, yes, things are going to change. Real estate markets and most, all markets aren't supposed to go up, 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 up forever. There's got to be a little bit of give and take. And I think we're going to be looking at some deals coming available for people that need to sell because they got into bad debt or they got into a property that wasn't cash flowing. And the new person coming in trying to get that deal can creatively create a good deal or get better financing or come in better capitalized. So that's what we're looking for is what's there now in today's market. Make an offer on what makes sense today. I don't care what you paid for it 2 years ago.
And James, if I can make one more point, the Jeff Green, a lot of the article focused on office space, commercial office. So when he talked about the commercial real estate space being ready to implode, all of his evidence and everything cited was in the office space. And we are going to be talking a little bit later about office to industrial trends. But, when you look at commercial real estate, there's several different categories. You have multifamily, industrial, office, retail, and, hospitality. Depends on how far you want to break it down. You could probably, go a couple more subcategories. But end of the day, what was cited in the article was all on office. And yeah, there are some problems with, the office category of commercial real estate.
Let's jump into the next article from the Associated Press. Eviction filings are 50% higher than they were pre-pandemic in some cities as rents rise. It listed out Houston as being 56% higher. Minneapolis, where Jesse is, rose 106% in March. Nashville, Phoenix, Rhode Island, we're all in there. So,
well, I think it's interesting how it says some states, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting, right? In the last 3 to 4 years, the population moves has been crazy. And I think even on that ad, there's a pop-up, right, for where people are fleeing, states are fleeing from, where they're going to, why they're going there, why they're fleeing. And that could be a whole fun episode right there, couldn't it? But especially we get some viewer comment in there, right? But it's interesting how certain states are not being affected by this as much and others are. And I think, this is my opinion on it, but there's just so much more going out there to folks to say, you know what, don't worry about paying your stuff. We'll take care of you. And it's becoming more of an expectation or a norm than getting it done. And I think, having a moratorium tying landlords' hands for a number of months or years is something that, we're still feeling the effects and we're going to feel them for a while. And this is why I've got some, investors I work with and some mentors of mine, even that they're getting out of that sector. They're going into something like commercial. They're going into something where it's shark against shark because consumer power is getting so big. And not to say they shouldn't have rights and that they should be, everyone should be treated great and fair. And, but it's starting to get a little lopsided on the people that are, the one providing these things. Right. That's why the government puts those tax advantages out there for people to risk their butts being on the line with their money and their business and their reputation and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On this one, I liked two comments. One's about the headline. Headlines are designed for people to click. And that's it. So I think there might be a little clickbait on this one. And it was already mentioned that it says some cities very specifically. But the other thing I'd like to point out is it says compared to pre-pandemic levels. Where were we pre-pandemic? We were at 50-year lows in unemployment, and when you have, like I think we were at like 3.2%, nationwide on unemployment. When you have that type of unemployment rate, you're not going to have a whole lot of evictions. So, being 50%, having eviction rates rise by 50% from, the lowest unemployment rate that we had in a 50-year period, to me isn't news. It's just like, yeah, we were at like a near all-time low. So it's got nowhere else to go but up, right? So,
Great point.
yeah, that's not really a news article, and it is very local. I invest a lot in Salt Lake City, and I mean Salt Lake City right now, their eviction rate is right on par with pre-pandemic levels. So, real estate is local. Yep, some cities are above the historic low, which is to be expected. Other cities are, still on par.
Good point. All right. Anything else from you guys on that one? Andrew?
Yeah, it's just funny. It's clickbaity, I guess. It's pre-pandemic. Everything is different from pre-pandemic. And we like to, and we still do it in our agency here, where we'll compare, what was the market like? But guys, that was 4 years ago. That was pre-pandemic. If you use that, there's been so much change. And for it to only be up 50% I'm looking at, that's a positive thing, because we had 2 or 3 years of backlog of evictions, people that should have been evicted, that maybe they were tried to be evicted, but actually the court wouldn't let it go through, give them a chance, or they got some assistance, and now here we are, that assistance is running out. So I look at it as, even though it's not here, it's definitely not in our area. If in these big cities, like what they're quoting, it's only 50% higher, that's probably a win for most people. If you really actually drill down to it, for two or 3 years of no eviction, we got a long ways to go. So that number might get a little worse for those cities.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's take a break to learn from one of our sponsors.
Hey, it's me, Antonio Holman, founder of United States Real Estate Investor and producer of This Month in Real Estate Investing. Are you ready to ignite your financial freedom with what has been called the hottest REI strategy around, or should I say strategies? Enter Jason Palliser's 2-day investment blueprint, where you will learn the secrets that the real estate investing community doesn't know because they never had a reason to before. With Jason's 2-day investment blueprint, you will learn how to tackle real estate deals with over 40 different strategies, which means your chances of losing another deal nearly disappears completely. In Jason's 2-day life transformation intensive, you will learn how to generate more deals, close deals faster, win more deals over other investors, multiply your real estate deal strategies, and much more. Jason's 2-day investment blueprint can help you grow your REI business to 6 and 7 figures faster with much less aggravation. If you want to learn how to invest in any market in the United States, even the tough markets, and close multiple deals per month, visit 2dayblueprint.com. That's the number 2dayblueprint.com. And make sure you tell them you heard it here on This Month in Real Estate Investing. Don't believe the no more good deals hype and visit 2dayblueprint.com today. Now back to James with This Month in Real Estate Investing.
All right, let's get back to the news. The next article is from Commercial Observer. The office to industrial conversion trend is here. This was interesting to me because we've talked about office to residential a couple different times on this show. And so this is another way to think about converting those office spaces that are sitting empty. What do you guys think?
Something that the last article, one of the previous articles mentioned, is that office space is having a hard time, and so there's a lot of offices. I've seen reports of skyscrapers in certain cities being purchased at 25 cents on the dollar versus the last time it traded. So what's happening right now is there's a building and it's nearly vacant and you can get it for a lot less. And so a lot of these conversions are happening because of the new basis price on these buildings. So people are looking at, okay, I can pick this one up at X amount of dollars per square feet, and the renovation is going to cost Y dollars per square feet. This is still going to make us money. We'll be able to sell it as industrial, or we'll be able to sell it as multifamily. So it does make a lot of sense, going from, commercial office to, anything else commercial where the numbers work.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting evolution as we continue to kind of watch and step back and watch. But if you think about the retail to industrial conversion or to storage is what I think about the most, where all the Kmart's, I don't know if they have those in Utah, but all the Kmart's are into storage.
They did
storage units here, but it's the same thing. They became so cheap that why not use it for storage? Because it's big, it's open, and the price point of that property is now what the storage facilities were looking for a price point. Well, same thing with office moving to industrial. Those price points are coming down, just like you said. And so what can we use it for? Well, if it costs a lot less, we don't have to fill it up with people and charge a higher rent. We can store stuff in it or go industrial. And I'm interested to see, this one was kind of intriguing for me, is I'm interested to see the city center office spaces that now may be converted to industrial or something else and bring new services into the city. So I'm interested to kind of see where that goes, but it's just the evolution of real estate, right? There's a building there. The cost is a little cheaper now.
They did point out, like, when it is in a city center, getting trucks into there, like, it's maybe going to have to be like light industrial, not heavy industrial or distribution, where you got to get big noisy trucks in, or if it's in a residential type area, same thing. Like, neighbors are going to be like, what the hell? Like, so they're going to have to, get that permitted and all.
I do think the conversion from office to multifamily is going to be easier. If you look at what the typical apartment looks like, you just put up different walls in different spots and you have I think it's going to have to take a more specific type of office to convert it into industrial. Those are usually, going to have, storage bays and different types of, different ceiling heights. Most industrial, real estate I've walked in, doesn't have, typical 8 to 10 foot ceilings. They're a lot higher. So there's definitely going to be more work putting these together, or, maybe it's going to be a little harder finding just the right office building to convert it to industrial. But I go back to what I said earlier. You can buy a lot of office space for cheap right now. So if it's convenient to convert, why not?
This reminds me, I saw an article the other day similar to this, talking about malls, strip malls and malls around the country, and how this one got converted. I think it was a Sears, right? Remember them? And Sears is now a pet adoption business. And then there was another that had a public library in it. And so they're doing all these different things with the malls. And I think it's really interesting, right? Because so many investors out there, especially newer folks to the space, are like, I got to go find the deals. But I think those who have been around for a while and are seasoned more can stop and think, where do I create the deal? And how do I go turn something that is, I know it sounds, cliche, but someone would be willing to spend a lot of money on that, but it's not the person that's there now, right? And someone else has a problem and they're bleeding money and they need to get out of it. And how can you just go take this person that's looking, this person that's in a bad spot, and combine it together? And instead of having to go try to find the deal, you can create the deal, make the deal. A lot of arbitrage options out there too, you know. And then you've got companies like Amazon that are always looking for more storage places, and doing distribution centers and stuff like that. And what if you could come in and control that piece, even for very little down, and control that, and all of a sudden now you're paying that debt coverage on one, and you're getting that new thing. So it's some pretty cool things to kind of really stop and kind of try to wrap your head around where the opportunities might be.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the next one from The Street. The top countries for Americans buying real estate abroad. It was based on like Google searches from the U.S. and it was a long list. Kind of at the top was Italy, Costa Rica, Mexico, Portugal, Jamaica, just on and on. And definitely higher income earners looking outside the country as for options. So,
yeah, I mean, who doesn't like Italy? Who doesn't like Italy?
Right.
Right?
Italy's number one on my list too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic, right? I think a lot of folks in our country are getting concerned and nervous where things are going. I think they're seeing, the world is a much tighter place than it used to be, and you can run your business, especially the beautiful real estate business that we're in, from anywhere. And I think this is going to be a big trend and getting more and more. It's interesting to see the places people are going. Obviously, if you look at the list, it's all places you want to spend your time, right? People aren't going to Minnesota, even though it's like another country, right? They're getting out of the cold. They're going to the beaches. They're going where, maybe it's a little slower pace of life, right? You've got a lot of Latin American countries in there. You've got Europe, and people I think COVID shook a lot of people up, right? Shook a lot of people up and said, oh my God, you know what? There's more to life than just work. And I want to have a good quality of life. And that can be in those other places.
Yeah, this is one that I've got mixed feelings on. I don't think investing other places is for me personally. I spent 8 or 10 years as an international affairs officer for the Marine Corps, and I've traveled a lot of places and studied a lot. But there's added layers of complexity that come in. I mean, we fought lots of wars over real estate, and lots of wars over countries changing their mind on real estate. You look at the banana wars in the, about a century ago, and a lot of those were fought over countries taking, land from U.S. landowners. So, one of the nuances there is you just have to make sure you understand the political dynamics of the country that you're investing in. The more stable political systems are going to be safer. So I think a lot of Western Europe is going to be a lot safer than Latin America, just because of the stability of the governments. And then the other part of that is there's currencies to deal with. A lot of countries, Italy, in recent memory had a currency crisis, and so when countries have currency crises like that, you got to look at the other implications as well. So a lot of Latin American countries also had currency crisis. So you're buying in one currency and you're living in the U.S., making income off of another currency. There's just a lot of nuances there that you have to consider. And for me right now, I think it's just a little bit too complicated for my tastes.
Yeah. Portugal's been in the news recently because I think it was a visa issue that they've put the brakes on. I know some people that actually moved over there recently, and some other people that have been investing in Portugal now. Who knows what's going on?
Would I eventually buy a place for myself? Maybe, but maybe not an investment property.
Yeah, I think that's based on Google searches or whatever. You got to think about the TV commercial or TV shows, the HGTV that make it look really nice to live over there, and it's so cheap and easy. But Brian, you hit on all the things that were concerning me, and I'm like, it's hard enough for me to buy something in like North Carolina. There's no way I'm going to buy an investment that I don't know what the country's doing. Are they going to take my property because I don't vote there? There's so many different things, so many different risks that either you got to have nothing to risk, or have so much that that risk is tiny. And I'm not in either one of those buckets. So it's not for me, but sure would be fun to visit.
And if you guys buy something, let me know. I'll come visit anytime you
Absolutely.
like.
I look at James like with EXP, right? So we've got folks all over the globe in other areas, and that's one thing that I have spent some time thinking about in the past. Is I've been lucky to travel quite a bit around the world, and I love travel. I love other cultures and other countries, and any excuse I can go and it's paid for, especially paid for by other people, I'm pretty happy about that. But there's a lot of you guys make some really good points, and there's a lot of things that to unpack and that you could get into. And so I think it'd be really interesting for the right person. Maybe it's no one on this show right now, but that could be a great niche, right? Being the kind of bridge between, say us and Costa Rica, knowing everything there is to know about Costa Rican real estate, and the people and financing, and you've got all the connections. Could be pretty cool. And I know there are some small groups of people doing stuff like that, especially like in the Caribbean and stuff. Kind of fun.
Totally. Well, should we jump to the next one? From Seeking Alpha, Real Estate Reckoning. Doom and gloom. They did mention the dramatic shift in how buildings are being used, the surge in interest rates, bank failures, and a looming recession. What do you guys think?
Well, I think, was it, Andrew, I think you brought this point up earlier, right? You always got to look at who's writing the article.
Yeah.
Who's writing the article, who's writing the clickbait, and that's a cool thing about opinion. Someone's going to be right in hindsight, right? So where are they going with it? And again, I think like anything in life, it's about education and smart decisions. And I think that the people that don't want to get into it shouldn't do it anyways. The people that are going to do it, there's better ways to buy, there's smarter ways to buy. And, there's a lot of things you can't control, but you sure as heck can't control the market, right? You can't control stocks and bonds. And I think for everyone right now, it's an important reminder. Things are in flux a lot more than they seem to have been in the last few decades, and having your personal affairs in order with low debt, multiple streams of income, right? And liquidity, I think is really good, especially as these things come, but it's opportunities as well, right? If and when it really happens again, and it will, of course it will, right? But it's opportunities too.
Yeah. It's like after 2008, there's a lot of opportunity. Somebody made $800 million, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. They pointed out.
I think, the word reckoning, it's there to get you to click. I don't think it's much information that we're not already thinking about. We all know that this is coming, but it's putting some numbers to it. But again, it's the opportunity. Where is the opportunity? You can't, I don't know who said this first, but you can't wait to buy real estate, right? You buy real estate and you wait. Well, where are you buying now that in the future is going to be worth more? So, what we are teaching and our agents and our clients and stuff is evaluate the property today based on today's value, what you can do with it today, make sure you're cash flowing and buying it good today, and let tomorrow take care of itself. Because the only way to lose money really in real estate is to get out too soon. You stay in there long enough and you can catch your money back up. So that's kind of what we're at, is the patient long-term approach, which I think they mentioned something about that here. That if you stay patient, there are deals that are going to happen. And yes, there's a lot of loans maturing in the commercial space. And I'm sure, Brian, you probably know more about that than we do, but not all of those loans are bad. Like many of those loans, they knew they were going to mature and they're cash flowing and they're happy with the mature date that's coming, and it's not a big deal. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I do think it was a little clickbaitish, a reckoning. Maybe I think a reckoning's a little worse than other people think reckonings are. But yeah, there's always opportunities to invest, and I think there's two different philosophies. I know some people that are very quick to try to move to where the opportunities are, and good for them. I tend to be like the tortoise, in the tortoise and hare story, or is it the hare and tortoise story, or tortoise and hare? I don't know. But I like the tortoise, right? Where, slow and steady wins the race. And, I'm still buying multifamily. I think there's a lot of the fundamentals are still there. Opportunities, there may be certain opportunities in certain spaces. There's, probably some non-performing loans that you can get at, 10 cents on the dollar right now, which is one thing that they highlighted. If you're buying notes at a huge discount, you can probably make money doing that. And right now is a good time, or at least compared to 2 years ago, it's a much better time. Let's put it that way. I won't say it's a good time. It's a much better time than it was 2 years ago to buy the non-performing notes, right? But yeah, I mean, end of the day, is it a reckoning? I don't know. I think the fundamentals still apply, and the other two have already mentioned a lot of those. So yeah. That's and who said don't wait to buy real estate? That's me all the time, every day, every LinkedIn post. But originally, I think it was Will Rogers about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
That does ring a bell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Our next news from Arizona's Family News. Things just weren't adding up. Scammers targeting real estate agents in Payson. Apparently, somebody from outside the country, for this one example, targeted a real estate agent, asking her to help list some land. And
well, I am very, very passionate about this. That y'all you've got to check what you're doing. It's just too easy for people to get scammed because they don't double check anything. And it's not even scammers, but for agents, it doesn't have to be a scam. It could be a seller that doesn't know what they're doing. For instance, a probate issue we just had where the seller says, "Oh, mom died, I'm selling the property." And the real estate agent didn't bother to ask, "Do you even have the rights to sell this property?" They weren't on title. They weren't on the tax deed, nothing. And of course, we go to try to buy it and they don't have rights to sell it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just scammers that are taking advantage of people. It's just that since COVID, I think our real estate agent population has doubled because it got really easy to get a license and people had time on their hands. Yeah. And of course, the market was going crazy. So I think we touched on this earlier that you've got to know what you're signing. You got to know what you're doing as an agent. And scammers are going to take advantage of agents, of buyers, of sellers, attorneys' offices. We had one of our attorneys, his website was completely scammed, and they just changed like an I to an L, and you wouldn't even know it because you just look at the link and it's like, oh yeah, it's the same link, and attempted to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. And guys, it's so easy for a scammer to do that if you're not checking and double checking where your money's going, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaky. And I mean, that's why, agents, has a fiduciary duty to their clients, right? Mm-hmm. To take care of them and to go through this stuff. And I think like the article talks about, they would only communicate via text, right? Never like over the phone, or if there was over the phone, it was, it didn't sound like it made sense, right? But there's nothing in person. There's no agents, and you got to look at all the different signs. And I think great reminder, double check, triple check who you're working with, and that's why it's so good to have a trusted network. And if you're working with someone that's outside of your network, someone that versus this, it can be really easy for people who are not in the business. Sad.
Something that came up to my mind was the phrase "buyer beware." It's always something where, I don't, whether they're selling snake oil or whatever, it's a buyer beware economy. It's a buyer beware transaction in all cases. There's a couple of things that you can do to protect yourself, and a lot of the title and escrow companies, if you're engaging a title and escrow company and engaging the right professionals, once again, I'm a buyer, not so much on the agent side, but on the buyer side, I rely on a lot of professionals to make sure that the transaction's going right, and if as far as I'm concerned, if a title company does their title search, doesn't come up with anything fishy, and I can put title insurance on that on that property, that's one thing I'm doing every single time, because if there is a scam, that title insurance company is going to be on the hook for the policy. So like I said, buyer beware, just do everything you can to mitigate your risk up front. And, if it looks like a fish, smells like a fish, and is shaped like a fish, it's probably a fish. Whether you like fish or not, that's up to you.
Yeah. What a couple of things that they pointed out, kind of red flags, were if the seller wants to sell fast or way below market value or cash only, and then other things like only communicating by email or text, not wanting to meet in person. So
and James, our business model, half of our business is we go and we target straight to sellers that oftentimes need to sell fast. They want to sell for cash quickly. Don't want to go through all those hassles, and that's where we get our business. That's where we get 95% of our properties, and that is not the key indicator. It's we have to go as the buyer, as the person who's responsible. We got to do our research and follow up and say, okay, we can't just go and send them money or try to buy it quick and, oh, it's such a good deal, I gotta send money now. Like, that's where people get in trouble as buyers on that end, because there's a lot of cash buyers out there in the world, and they've got to be responsible for their own money as well, and follow up and check the title, the deeds before they start sending money, because I'm sure this is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah. And a good title company's gonna not have you wiring money willy-nilly. They're taking extra steps now, sending you an email, maybe having you call in, that kind of thing. So well, hey guys, let's take another break for our next sponsor.
Cool.
It's me again, Antonio Holman, founder of United States Real Estate Investor and producer of This Month in Real Estate Investing. One of the best ways to increase your company's brand awareness and increase warm leads is to create written content online. But as we know, content creation can be very time consuming and not very cost effective when having to pay professional copywriting fees. It's time to use REI Content Packs. REI Content Packs, done-for-you content packs give you the tools, flexibility, and cost-effective way to increase your brand's visibility and online presence without spending hours or even days stressing on what to create. REI Content Packs are a collection of high-quality, ready-made real estate blog articles exclusively created for the real estate investing industry. Can you imagine the possibilities if you could do 2 to 3 more deals per month without increasing your ad spend? REI Content Packs can help you do that. Can you imagine getting unlimited online traffic, increasing your Google ranking, getting more leads, and making more money? REI Content Packs can help you do that too. To get started increasing your brand's content and lessening your workload, head on over to thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. That's thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. It's time to get off the online marketing hamster wheel. Try REI Content Packs today at thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com/REI Content Packs. Now back to James and This Month in Real Estate Investing.
All right, back to the show. From Benzinga, first quarter home flipping improves, but is still near lowest level since 2000. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, I can tell you this. We've been watching some articles on home flipping as we do that as well in our business, and we have clients that do that. And I was just trying to find it so I could reference it, but one of the ones that was out last week, it was to the tune of basically most flippers are losing money right now. So so whatever metric it was, they were buying it. If they bought it last year, so the last 2 quarters of last year, this first 2 quarters of this year is when those flips are selling. And it was pretty astounding. And it actually made us feel a little better. Like, hey, we're not the only ones not making money on flips today. So it's tons of it. It was a large percentage. It was way more than has ever been seen, where the flippers are letting the property go for less than or very close to what they paid for it, which goes to show that, basically the market has changed. If you bought it last year, you had an idea of what it would be worth this year, and that's not necessarily the case. So that's pretty interesting article to go with the fact that flipping is coming back. So, I think it is coming back because I think now people understand where the market is going. One thing that we don't like in real estate is uncertainty. And we've been very uncertain since, October, September, October, whatever it was. So certainty is kind of coming back. It doesn't have to be great market. It doesn't have to be a terrible market. But if we at least know where it's going and kind of have an idea of the highs and the lows, I think flippers get back in the game, and that's where we are.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would add to that is I think that's very spot on, Andrew. And a lot of people were wondering, like with pricing after COVID, right? Like these prices got insane for materials, supplies, and then just labor. And I think a lot of folks are going, okay, let's just simmer down a little bit and wait for these to come back down. And then a lot of folks are realizing that they're not. And, and then some are, certain areas are in segments have come down a little bit. But we're just kind of in a whole new pricing world. And I think some people are going, okay, this is kind of the new world, and we have to sharpen our pencils, and we have to make sure we've got really good deals. Of course, there's just a lack of inventory out there to begin with. And then, so, the days of we can go over budget and take longer and our hard money costs are cheaper, they're not quite what they used to be. And so I think people got to really be digging in a little bit more upfront.
Yeah. Now I've never flipped a home, but a couple of points, here is, there's economic swings. We all know that, there's this cyclical nature of the economy. When economy and home prices are on the upswing, it's a lot easier to flip. If you know that there's appreciation in the market, or you expect there's going to be a lot of appreciation in the market, it's a pretty good time to try to flip. One thing that, comparing this to commercial multifamily, when you're flipping, you buy one asset, you have one person. It's a single family home in most cases, and you're not getting any income. One reason that I prefer multifamily over single family is, we do, our version of flips on multifamily, and we can, if we have a 100-unit apartment complex, we can renovate 10 units at a time and still have a 90% occupancy, so there's a lot of extra safety there, which, by the way, is, like I said, is the biggest reason that I gravitated towards multifamily from single family. But, something else, and just in general, I like to come in with a very flexible exit plan, on our investments. And I think, if you only have one potential exit, which is sell and make a profit, if the economy, if the real estate market doesn't agree with your plan, it's not going to work. So, I'd like to build a lot of flexibility in, which means, I need to be able to hold for a longer period, which goes into what type of loan that I choose for the renovations and the flip process. In multifamily, from, I don't know, probably 2015 all the way up to, a year and a half ago, a lot of people could do some cheap renovations, turn around and make a big chunk of change. Right now, that's not really happening as much, because the market isn't appreciating like it was a couple of years ago. Some places prices are declining, some places prices are holding steady. But end of the day, just know that anytime you're doing something like that short term, that depends on the market, you're putting a little bit more. There's a lot more incurred risk than if you were to do like a long-term investment.
It's interesting, talking about having only one exit of selling. Like Jesse and I are in the lease option space. I was getting calls starting last fall from flippers that were like, oh crap, I can't sell this thing. And what options do you have? Do you have any lease option buyers for us? And the problem was most of the ones they were in trouble with were the real high end ones. That's where flippers get in trouble. They're not in that median.
Yeah.
And they were okay, or at least break even on the median price ones. But I was like, wish I could help,
Those carrying costs are a lot higher. The buyers, there's a lot fewer of them, right?
Yep.
And and this is a nice kind of reminder for us, James. The way we do a lot of our business with our hybrid investing system, we're not buying anything without knowing what the end price is ever. So, right, instead of saying I'm going to go buy this at 300 and I sure hope to heck I sell it for 400, but I don't know who my buyer is. I don't know when it's going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to, there's a whole bunch of variables, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But with our program, we already have the buyer lined up. We know that they're willing to pay 5. Well, I'm going to go buy it at 4 all day long if they're going to pay 5. And I'm not going to buy it unless they're agreeing up front to pay what they're going to pay. And so the risk is incredibly mitigated that way, and get some cash flow for the next 2 to 3 years as well, like a landlord, and then get that flip without swinging a hammer. Because let's be honest, these hands don't do work.
Nope.
No.
Mine either.
I wish they could. They can't.
Yep. My toilet still leaks. I tried to fix it and it's still leaking. So,
Oh man,
yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I tell people this is my toolbox: money clip and the phone. That's it. So I fix stuff. That's it.
Problem solver.
Problem solver.
Yep. Let's jump into our next one, unless you had something to say, Andrew.
No, we're good.
Okay. From Fortune, commercial real estate gets even bleaker, with $64 billion in property now classified as distressed. They mentioned maturing debt, which we talked about. Retail and office space were kind of the big ones that got hit. So, anything to add, guys?
Yeah. I guess since this is the commercial one, I'll hop on it first. Most operators, when you get debt, you know what the maturity date is. All right. A lot of people, even when they had the variable rate loans, a lot of people bought rate caps, and that rate cap insurance is going to essentially, put a cap on what you're going to pay on properties. And the rate cap policies come with an expiration date as well. So yeah, there are a lot of distressed properties out there, and it depends on what their definition is of distressed. But I think most operators, and this is why I don't think there's going to be a bloodbath. I think most operators are very aware of how much time is left on this supposed ticking time bomb, right? So a lot of people are able to position themselves and exit, prior to that loan, resetting, coming due, that rate cap expiring or whatever. There are always going to be exceptions. I know, one group that, knew that their rate cap was expiring, knew that things were going to go up. And so they tried to sell it, a good 8 months prior to. They had one buyer back out. They put it back on the market, found a second buyer. The second buyer backed out. And, by the time the second buyer backed out, they didn't have a lot of time left to be able to, find a new buyer. So, in cases like those, you're going to see, fire sales. These guys did a cash in refinance. They did capital call, came out of pocket. But, end of the day, I think most commercial real estate operators see the writing on the wall, and they're positioning themselves to mitigate their losses, or to right now a lot of them don't care about profits anymore. What they care about is reducing the risk of loss, and trying to come away with as much as they can.
Yeah, I think like we talked about earlier, most of those they know it's coming, and I think about the group, and I can't think of the name, out of Texas that just let three properties, multifamily properties, just go because they knew they were in bad, and there's probably a lot more that goes into that, and I'm sure we'll see more about it. But you know, it's not a secret for most of those for the commercial stuff. There's a lot more people involved. You know, when you look at single family homes distress, that's really different from multifamily or commercial distress, because as you know, Brian, that most of the commercial has a lot of people involved, and you can do capital calls. The single family home distressed property doesn't have that luxury to do a capital call, you know, call your cousins or something for help. So that's why it's not that I'm not really concerned about it. And really it's kind of a small piece to the overall commercial market. So it's not my space, but the headline and the stuff in the article, it's just kind of confirming what we already know for me. And I think that most of the commercial investors are ready for that. And there's probably somebody sitting on the sideline waiting to pick up a few of these.
I just did a quick Google search. I mean, 64 billion seems like a large number, but there's 4.5 trillion in total debt on these properties. So we're talking about a whopping, let's see, get my decimal in the right spot. I think this is 1.5%.
Right.
Wait,
That's
is that
a
a
blip.
headline that's supposed to look worse than it is?
No way. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I got nothing to add. I think we're covered.
Yeah, me neither. So, a single family, guys. All right. From Fortune, Supreme Court won't hear floor plan copying. So, NAR's standpoint is that the court's ruling misrepresents federal law and would invalidate decades of legal precedent by allowing copyright infringement lawsuits to be filed against homeowners who make or display floor plans on their own homes. So,
Who's the attorney in the room?
Yeah.
yeah.
I was reading. I had to read it a few times to figure out like what exactly they were talking about. But I think in practice, what actually happens is people will use these 3D cameras. We've been using them for years, and go through and make a floor plan, and that goes along with the pictures out there on the MLS. Right. That is practically what happens. I think the people that are saying no are the ones who maybe the architects or the engineers that are drawing and they're producing a product. I would see them not wanting their work, their the actual floor plan that maybe is at the county or something like that. I would see them not wanting their product out there because they were paid to build a specific house, to draw a specific floor plan. They were not paid reproduction rights or whatever that is. I'm not the attorney. So I think in practicality, I don't think we have to worry about getting sued. They'll figure this out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I'm glad the Supreme Court doesn't hear it. I mean, I don't know the legalities. I mean, when you hire an architect to draw up plans for you and build a house for you, I would expect that if I'm paying the architect and I'm paying for the house, at the end of the day, I own the floor plan.
100%.
I mean, there may be cases where that's not true, but yeah, I'm glad the Supreme Court just said, yeah, we're not even going to look at this.
Yeah. And these are just screenshots, nothing detailed where you can take that data and go copy that.
Building plans might be a little different, but just the floor plan. I better own. I better own the floor plan to my own house.
Yeah. Well, and two, kind of like you mentioned before, Brian, buyer beware. Again, there's a lot of moving parts into a real estate transaction, whether it's residential or commercial. So just having those conversations with people about what is rights to yours and what's not, and is always a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into the next one. From Business Insider. It's a cruel, unpredictable summer for Airbnb and VRBO hosts, but it also might be the new normal. Jesse, you just bought another one, didn't you?
3.
3? All,
Yeah.
all in one shot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wisconsin Dells, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was,
Nice.
didn't realize you did.
Yeah, one's a hybrid deal. One is one was seller financing, and then one is a normal deal. So 1 out of 3 was normal.
Wow.
But yeah, it's I think there was a big pent up demand with COVID for people to want to get the heck out of the house, right? See people again, live life again, get the fresh air and get outside and get off their butts and stop watching reality TV. And that was a huge surge. And then so many folks, were renting out their homes, and so many more properties came on the market. And now people are getting back to either you have a job again, right? You have an office you have to report to, maybe even a few days a week, or that demand has just kind of waned a little bit, and it does seem that that is the case. And again, I think whenever you hear things are going down or getting worse, right, there's always a good side to that, because the people that shouldn't be doing it are going to get out of the game, right? The people just picking any piece of real estate that is a piece of junk, and they don't care, they're not putting any time and effort and positiveness into it. You're not gonna just cash flow thousands per month. And I think it really goes to where do people want to be? A lot of times people will ask me about investing in certain cities and urban areas, and say, I'm not your guy for that. I can't give you a lot of good help because I don't have any there, and I don't want 20 college kids paying $30 a night to have party in my house. That's nowhere near something. So most of my properties are all in vacation areas that are strong demand. And I think you got to be a little more careful with where you're shopping, because I think there's a lot of truth to this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
this goes back to, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say this goes
I'll
back
go ahead.
to, we got a delay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right. I'm talking. All right. So I would share with you guys my background was hotel management. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. And so I spent over 10, 12 years managing hotels. And so when I was buying real estate the whole way, I said I would never, ever, ever do Airbnb, because guests, I love everybody who's a guest because I travel too, but we all lose our brains the moment we pack our suitcases. And I don't know what that is, but I was like, I don't want to deal with someone that forgot a toothbrush or whatever. They can't figure out how to flush the toilet. So I swore it off, but now we have some because we have a manager in place. But what you said, Jesse, was right there at the end was spot on. This is what we talk about here is it seemed like such a great thing to do Airbnb, and all the news articles like everyone should Airbnb. Well, everyone has tried it, and now we're going to see who sticks around. So the ones that are doing it, they thought that this would be fun. They're quickly finding out it's not fun. They thought they'd make a ton of money. They're going to realize once there's more availability, you're not really going to make a ton of money. And it boils down to the fact that hotels are here and have made a lot of money and built a lot of hotels for a reason, because they are convenient, they're easy, they're not easy, but they're systematically run, they're efficient, and people, when they travel, they like that consistency. They like to know what they're getting. So in the city centers, even the vacation areas, the hotels are back. They are back. They are filling up. Airbnb is not as in demand. But if same thing goes that you're in those vacation areas, Jesse, Airbnb didn't make those vacation areas their homes popular for rental. So we're here, we have the beach, and the beach rentals have always been houses. They've always been rented by the week since the 80s, since I was a baby, and we've been going there. And that's not going to change. So stick to where the demand is going, which is the vacation spots, the unique spots where there is no hotel, there's no other option. You got a nice, unique property. So that's my soapbox. I could talk all day on it. I'll get off now.
Yeah,
I dig it, man.
The only thing I'll add is, it is very cyclical. I've brought this up a couple of times already, but when the economy isn't doing well, when people aren't, are having to stretch to pay their normal bills, they're not going to go stay in Airbnbs or hotels, right? So whether or not, I mean, my biggest point is this the new normal, or is this really just part of the cycle? It's probably just part of the cycle. We saw a year ago, we talked about the office being converted, a year, 2 years ago, there's a lot of hotel to multifamily conversions, and there still are, so I think this is more of a cyclical thing than the new normal, but I am not in the hospitality space. So those are just my guesses.
Well, and one thing I want to just add to that too, I think, because it's a lot of what I do and a lot of what I spend my time on. And again, buying creatively. So I'm doing one of them with no money down, right? I'm using OPM on one, seller financing. Another one is, with a partner who wants to put in more capital, but they don't know how to do the work. So, I did a podcast on this a few months ago, basically, right? There's folks who have money, but not a lot of time. There's folks who have a lot of time, but they don't have money. There's folks who don't have money or time, and there's folks who have both. And so I think there's a lot of ways to collaborate on stuff like this. And, you'd mentioned the headaches and hassles of dealing with, annoying travelers, right? And that can be all of us, right? Because your brain does melt when you all of a sudden are on vacation. But you don't have to do that. So I think it's a nice reminder to folks is there's still ways to own these properties, and you don't have to deal with that stuff. There's someone else. Just make sure the numbers still pencil out. And I kind of go with a pendulum of vacation rental ownership, right? Some people I talk to, they're like, Jesse, I just don't want to make a payment. I want a home in Florida or in the desert or in the mountains by the lake. I just don't want to ever make a payment. And if I can do that, I'm a happy camper. And other people say, I don't care where the heck it is. It could be Kansas, Delaware, doesn't matter. It's got to kill it and make a bunch of money. So what are you doing going into it, right? What's your goals? And then I think second, one thing too is the bigger properties are always going to do better. The places that I have that sleep 10, 12, 14 people, you're not doing that in a hotel. And in a hotel, that's a lot of money, right? But if I'm trying to compete with the Hilton down the street and I've got a studio, Hilton's probably going to kick my butt unless I'm really on my game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the article mentioned kind of the median size homes were getting hit, but definitely the higher end, more rooms were the good ones.
Yeah.
And I was going to point out too, like Jesse, you've got a team that handles all the nitty gritty stuff. and they're awesome. In fact, do you like that team's available for other people if they wanted to get in and hire them, right?
Yeah. So we have a virtual training team, international, and they're doing stuff right in my backyard and in other states. And we've got a really cool way where we can help other hosts who want to either get into it or get that off their plate. And then we also even have a training program where we can kind of get their team on board if they want to take it over. But yeah, it's one of the biggest objections I hear a lot is well, there's no way I could deal with this because I'm in this city and it's this city. And I don't own anything within less than 4 hours of me. Everything I own is 4 hours to 24-hour drive. So, but there's somebody there, right? Who, Not How, great book. There's somebody in all those areas that can handle the stuff. And if they can't handle it, I've got a backup ready in place for that person. And certain markets, I've got 3 backups. Other markets, I'm dealing with the one, right? Because it's rural and I've got the guy or the gal. But that gets a little tricky too. But yeah, you don't have to worry about doing it all yourself necessarily, but you got to keep tabs on it. And if it's not you, it's got to be somebody.
Yeah. I remember reading a stat. I think most Airbnb hosts bail after about a year just because they realize how much work it is. And I did that too.
There's nothing passive about it.
No.
Nothing passive unless your management is completely done. And then you're still saying, oh, why am I buying new dishes this month? Am I reimbursing you or am I just going to ship them to you? No?
Yeah. Thinking about if you're not willing to do it, what are your other options? What's it going to cost you? Or sell it, whatever, turn it back into long-term. You got all those options, but be aware that it is not easy.
Yeah.
But can be very profitable.
Ken.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into our fun news item. CBS News. 4 volunteers just entered a virtual Mars made by NASA. They won't come back for 1 year. I think they were going to do three phases of that.
Yeah.
Testing their psychological and physiological stuff. So,
Yeah. I mean, when I first saw the headline, and this may show my age, I immediately thought of like the 1980s movie Total Recall, and I'm like, I think we've seen this one before. But after reading the article, it sounds a lot more like the Matt Damon one, Mars, which is a great book, by the way. The book is like most books, far better than the movie. But yeah, interesting. I don't know. Maybe there's a good opportunity to invest in real estate in Mars in the future, but I think what I said about investing internationally might still apply here.
Another level higher than.
Yeah.
I want to put Airbnbs up there.
Do it. Do
Make
it.
it happen, right?
You
You got the management team.
Right? You can put a 50 unit up there. Let's rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
And
Just
you
have
manage
some
the
boots on the
hotel.
ground up there to manage it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cleaners, though. I heard cleaners are tough to find on Mars.
Yes.
They're
Just
tough
make sure,
here,
make sure
right?
all your furniture is red, and that way you're not even going to notice the dirt.
Right, exactly.
It's a good one.
I think it'd be interesting to see how many people could do that, though. I mean, that's a pretty amazing test when you think about it, right? I mean, just a year commitment doing anything is insane.
Yeah.
But then something that crazy and outside the box, it's cool. It'd be really fun to see the before and afters of those people, and what they really took away from it.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, and it opens up because we're in here talking about real estate. I start thinking about the moon, Mars. Eventually, somebody's going to find some reason to be there, and who's going to own it? Are we divvying this thing up? Are we buying pieces? Who are we buying it from? This is going to be interesting. I don't think we'll be around for it, but as we kind of dream a little.
Yeah. Is it like the South Pole? Everybody gets a little sliver, and then you've got the Japan flag and the American flag and the Italians. Or
I mean, the next question is, it's like, is this going to be like, the colonization of the New World many, many years ago, where it's, a big open land grab, or are we going to just, say, hey, you know what, let's divide everything up by population, and China's like, that's probably China's argument. And, our argument, well, let's divide everything up by GDP, or let's divide everything up by capability to get there, or whatever. But that's a good question there. On another note, 378 days sounds like, the typical length of a, military deployment to Iraq or Afghanistan in the 2000s. And, geez, all I got to say is no thanks, let somebody else do that. Sitting in a desert for 378 days, might trigger my PTSD. So I'll let somebody else do that.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll get some results on the psychology side of that, huh?
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. We use ChatGPT and pose the question, is it possible to terraform Mars to make it livable by humans? And the answer was, terraforming Mars is a theoretical concept with methods including releasing Mars frozen carbon dioxide to thicken the atmosphere or importing volatile chemicals. However, a lack of accessible carbon dioxide and the absence of a protective magnetic field make it currently unfeasible. Even if possible, the process could take hundreds to thousands of years. Further technological advancements and discoveries may change this understanding. So,
I think ChatGPT might get that wrong, because if you go to the end of that Total Recall movie, as soon as they vaporize all of that polar ice, everything works.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT doesn't have this one.
Let Elon Musk figure it out. He'll have a solution in 3 years.
Right. There's going to be a charging station before we know it.
Exactly.
Space shuttle charging station.
With those
Solar
batteries
powered.
cost. Craziness.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome, guys. That's our show for the month. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Jason Palliser's 2-day investment blueprint and REI content packs. Again, thanks to our guests. Go ahead and let people know how they can connect with you guys, and we'll go from there. If you want to go in order, Brian, Jesse,
All right.
Andrew.
Yeah, sure thing. So best place to connect is LinkedIn. You know, I spend a lot of time there. The website for us is streamlinecapitalgroup.com. I'm an apartment investor, always looking for people who want to invest with us in these apartment complexes. If you want to talk to me specifically about, investing in apartments, send me a connection request or a DM on LinkedIn, or you can go to the website. There's a form to fill out where you can set up a call. I also have a coaching program that I run as well, where I help people learn how to buy multifamily and how to syndicate. And interested in that, same thing, LinkedIn, hit the connection button and send me a DM.
Awesome. So for me, guys, you can connect with me pretty much on any social handle at the Jesse Mills, THE Jesse Mills, JESSE. There's no I in there because I'm a man, not a woman. THE JESSE MILLS at the Jesse Mills anywhere. And my website is www.thejessemills.com. You can go there, and basically the people in my world are folks who want to get into real estate investing, but want to really have a lot of the headaches and hassles of being landlord eliminated, want to make the profits of flipping a home without having to swing a hammer. And we have a really cool system where we teach you how to take the benefits of both, combine them without all the headaches and hassles and BS. You profit 3 ways. It's pretty cool. And we help people get home ownership who can't get regular bank financing right now. And we have a system to teach this as well. So if you're doing something in real estate and it's not working for you, you're not having enough fun, spending too much money on leads and marketing, we'd love to chat with you more about it and see if it's a fit for you. And again, at thejessemills.com. I do have a podcast as well, if I could throw that out there,
Sure.
The Creative Cash Flow Show as well.
Can I get a mulligan and pitch my podcast too? I forgot about that. Diary of an Apartment Investor. If you're watching this, there it is. There's the logo right there behind me. And it is about, guess what? Apartment investing. Amazing. Thanks.
Cool.
All right, I'll go. Andrew Lucas. My handle is actually the Andrew R. Lucas at most of the social medias. But if you go to dealfindersclub.com/links, that's got all my contact information, all the YouTube, TikTok, even all that stuff is right there. We do help people get started in real estate investing, so we have some information there. And this has been great, guys. I've enjoyed it. This has kind of piqued my interest and kind of got me thinking. So I hope it's been good for everybody out there listening. And if anybody needs help, look forward to you reaching out.
Fantastic. Thanks again, guys. Also, thanks to our producer, Antonio Holman with United States Real Estate Investor. Follow and subscribe to This Month in Real Estate Investing on YouTube at youtube.com/@UnitedStatesREI or your favorite podcast app. If you run across any interesting news, events, good guest ideas, etc., feel free to share by emailing Antonio at UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. I think that's correct. And remember, when one door closes, another door opens to financial freedom. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.